Arcade Perfect, my arse.
Okay guys, welcome to another Arcade Perfect My Arse. This is Power Drift by Sega, written in 1988. This was an absolute iconic game. It came out after Outrun. I mean, I remember seeing this, you know, in an arcade. I think it might have been in LA's in Edinburgh. And, you know, back in 1988 we had just kind of discovered the 16-bit machines, and graphics on them at that point was pretty poor. And seeing an arcade game throwing graphics about like this was just absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah, they did look a bit kind of blocky looking even back then, but I mean, seeing this on a huge big monitor just looked absolutely incredible. So, you know, to even attempt to sort of port a game like this would have been, I don't know, an impossible task. But anyway, we shall see if that is the case. Now, I think this game was fiendishly difficult. Whoops. Now, it doesn't look as impressive as I remember it to be, but you know what would you expect? We're used to playing photorealistic games now, so yeah, the driving games are probably the games that are going to suffer the most, I would guess. But it's still sick-inducingly, the way it throws you about and tilts you about. But I'm sure there was a big hydraulic version of this, which was just mental. Now, I'm actually using a mouse, believe it or not, to play this, which is probably not the ideal solution, but it's better. It certainly beats using a joystick. But yeah, how anyone could even attempt to port this game? Ah, balls. You know what, let's just continue. I don't know if that's, is that a level or something? I'm not too sure. But the speed of this game, it's like the speed of all these racing games, that was the major selling point. The graphics and the speed. You know, I mean, if you look at the rocks, they really look solid. And I think the secret to this game, using the trackball, is tiny little movements. That's why a joystick isn't the best option. I mean, this game probably isn't really. The only way to really play this game properly would be using a joystick, which I sadly don't have. But I must admit, using a trackball comes a pretty good second. There you go, second place. I'm guessing the earlier shot I must have had was a more difficult track or something. So here we go. This is the classics of a roller coaster track. Oops. Here we go, climbing up. Whoa! Yeah, the way it kind of spun you about the closest I can really think game-wise that gave you that, or gave me that kind of feeling sick, was the Super Monkey Ball on the GameCube. Just the way the whole thing spins about. Ah, bollocks. Oh! This is a hell of a lot more difficult than the last track. Ah, balls. Let's continue if we can. Alright, so it doesn't actually let me. I thought it was going to let me continue the actual race, but it doesn't seem to. I must admit, it does kinda, the graphics are still pretty damned impressive. You know, contrary to what I was saying earlier on. You know, it was really the first, I mean these are all sprite based, I'm guessing, they're not polygons or anything, so you know, it was pretty impressive. Well, in fact it wasn't pretty impressive, it was very impressive back in the day. I was just about to remark it would actually help having a sort of map of where you're going, but there is a map, although I don't actually know where I am. Am I number 2? I'm not too sure. It feels more like pinball the way I'm bouncing about there. And I really need to take camp and then try and not fall off the track. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Hey, 3rd place. How are we doing for time? Ah, we've got time for one more. Oof. You really need to concentrate. Ah, balls. I was in 2nd, I think there, 2nd or 3rd, and now I'm in 5th. I'm really looking forward to playing some of the 8-bit versions of this. I just can't even begin to imagine how it's going to play. This is just absolutely batshit mental, as they say. Anyway, that's it guys, that is Power Drift, and that's the arcade one. Let's take a look at some home versions now. Okay guys, this is Power Drift and this is on the Commodore Amiga. Now sadly I couldn't actually get this to work on my original Amiga, so I'm playing this. What am I doing? I'm actually playing this with on my main card under emulation. It seems to play okay. Well, it plays alright. I'm not saying the game's great, but anyway, let's have a go. Now, is that the easiest? Let's go for the skinhead again. Or the Mohican, I should say. Ah, balls, I don't know what happened there. Right, okay. Oops. Am I moving? High gear. Right, okay. Oof. Static wise, if you took a screenshot of this, you would say it looks pretty impressive. However, when it starts moving, then that's when it starts going a bit Pete Tong. It looks alright there when there's not an awful lot happening. High gear. Yeah, this, look at it, it's moving like 2 frames a second. The impressionist speed is non-existent. Low, high, okay. It looks like this is just a bit too much for our old friend Amiga. Bollocks. The sprites look excellent, but this just can't handle it. Now, again guys, I'm playing this under emulation. Possibly it plays better on real hardware, but that is pretty unplayable, I would say. Sound is alright, I suppose. Oops. Yeah, it just the updating is so jerky that there's virtually no feeling the movement. Let's try going up a gear. Yeah, this bit of the track here, it's just awful. Very neat, and because it's so jerky, it's virtually impossible to really see just where you're supposed to be. Oh, that's awful. It's just too much for the computer. Now I dare say if they programmed it now they could probably do a no bad version of it. 1988 was pretty early days of the Commodore Amiga. I know it came out long before 1988, but as far as being a games machine is concerned, this was... Oops, I was just checking the camera there. What we're doing for time. Like, one last go, guys. But this is pretty shite, I have to say. Now, if this is the Amiga version, I'm certainly not expecting too much from the Atari ST one. I'm guessing they're probably going to be direct ports of one another. My goodness, I actually made it through that section. That's because I was in low gear. Goodness! Whoa. It's because it's so jerky, it's almost impossible to see where you are. Yeah, it's just the whole feeling of movement is just completely lost. It would have been far better knocking the graphics back, making it simpler. They've tried to really go for the full textured kind of detail of these sort of rock things, but it's just no handling it at all. And we're going to see the second. Blimey. Well, let's take a quick look at the next track. Oh dear. Yeah, I've tried to go for the full booner with the sort of panning round of the track, but the hardware's just not up to it. Possibly on an expanded Amiga this might run okay, but this track doesn't seem quite as bad. I think because they've done away, well, you don't have the big massive stone pillars. So the hardware seems slightly more capable. But yeah, I was going to say a good attempt, I'm not too sure. I think they should have just cut back the graphics and just tried to retain the speed and the fluidity, because that's lost here completely. And annoyingly, as soon as you start, you instantly drop back down to low gear, and you've got to remember to move back into high gear. Well, I managed third place. Anyway, listen, that's enough of that one, guys. That is the Commodore Amiga. Let's crack on.
Okay guys, this is the Amstrad CPC 464 version. Right, okay, joystick, keyboard, nope, I might go for number 1, and I want to start the game. Nice and colourful. Let's go for Daily Thompson. And we shall go for this one. Be third or better to continue. Actually, this isn't actually too bad. What I like about this version is they've kept the graphics quite small. They've not tried to emulate the really super massive details of the arcade, but you would expect so. And they've also slowed the game down a bit. But in doing so, they've actually managed to get quite a smooth kind of game. I think this is pretty damn good. Right, okay, that's fine. I wasn't too sure if it was in high gear or not, but yeah, this is actually quite nice. What they've really done here is instead of trying to emulate the arcade game, copy it sort of graphic for graphic, they've taken the game, they've looked at the restrictions of the hardware, then they've fitted the game around the hardware, and in doing so they've actually come up with quite a nice little version. I'm actually looking forward to seeing another track in this. But I'm enjoying this a lot more than the 16-bit versions, that's for sure. One thing I can't really see is I can see where it tells you what lap I'm on. I can't really see if it tells you what gear you're in. I mean, there's only high or low gear, but come on, I want to qualify, and I'm not going to qualify. Bollocks. Right, I'm going to go for another shot of this. Continue, yes. Right, come on, we need to get a third place. Now I noticed, I mean, you can't really tell, I don't think, the opponents, I mean, it looks to me like the opponents are all identical. Or maybe not, I could be talking shite. But again, they've worked within, they've kept within the confines of the hardware. There's nothing worse than seeing a game and it's trying to push the hardware too much. What are we doing? What position? Oh, we're up to, we're not up to third, we're up to second. Oh, we're up to second, there you go. Yeah, it looks like the posts are kind of floating in the air a wee bit. But, you know, I'm actually quite enjoying playing this. It's more pedestrian than the other versions, but you actually feel like you're controlling the car, whereas the other ones were just far too much. And they've even tried to kind of copy the texture of the road, which I think is excellent. Don't lose any more positions off. I've got one more lap after this. Come on, let's take him. Is that going to be me second? No, was it hell? He must have been must have lapped him. He's still in third place. Me him on last lap. Still in third. And you catch him. Maybe. No, don't crash. Oh, no. No. Bollocks. Right, listen, I've played this one enough. Shite. Anyway, I've quite enjoyed that version actually. That's the Amstrad CPC 464. Excellent version. Let's move on. Okay, this is the Atari ST version. Alright, let's go for Come on. There's options, let's go for joystick control. And we'll leave it on 60 frames a second, or 60 megahertz I should say. Okay, how do we start? Right. Oops, let's drop back down to low again. Right, now this looks very similar to the Amiga one. Now, I've got to say, now I'm maybe talking way too premature, but it almost feels like it's playing slightly better than the Amiga one. Which I don't really think would be the case, but you know what, it just feels a bit easier, it feels slightly more, the handling feels a bit better, but let's wait until we get to one of the more kind of graphically demanding tracks, one of the big kind of stone pillars. But like the Amiga one, they've really tried to get the graphics of the original. I mean, the graphics do look quite nice, but the problem being is there's just a lot of slowdown. Oh, bollocks, I keep forgetting to change up to higher gear.
Three, two, one, go!
It looks like the original, but again, it's just not capable, the hardware's not capable of really doing the game justice, unfortunately.
Second lap.
It would have been far better running sort of more basic graphics, I reckon, to allow for kind of more fluid gameplay. It's a perfect example of a sort of an early 16-bit game. It was all, back then, it was all about the graphics and less about the gameplay. I mean, this, I don't know if it does look any better than Amiga, but it's certainly not, it's not an enjoyable game to play, it's just too jerky. Absolutely too jerky. The frame rate is awful. What, did I get second there? I think, did I? Oh, is this the big pillars? No, it's not.
3, 2, 1, go!
Listen, you know what, it's because I wasn't able to choose the tracks, but I was going to say it's interesting that I can't see the that track that has the big kind of concrete bollards sort of thing, but this is a mess. Just an unplayable mess. Statically wise it looks alright, but the minute it starts moving, I take it back, it's really no better than the Amiga, it's just as much a mess as the Amiga one was. They should have tried to simplify the graphics. I mean, it's so glitchy, it's actually quite confusing to try and figure out what way you're supposed to be going. Yeah, they've really tried to retain the graphics. I mean, if you were to pause this game, you'd think, wow, look at the graphics, they're really detailed, and they are detailed, but it's just too detailed for the machine. The minute it starts moving, it just looks like a complete mess. So yeah, I think we've kind of seen enough of this one, guys. This is the Atari ST one. Let's crack on. Right then, this is the Commodore 64 one. And right away I don't seem to be able to pick my player back in a tick. Okay, let's go for course A. Now right away I notice the graphics are actually detailed enough that when the guy goes past, when he overtakes somebody, he actually does a wee wave like you do in the arcade. Now this is actually quite impressive. I really wasn't looking forward to playing this version. Most of the Commodore 64 race games are awful, but look at that. Look at how solid these walls look, and look how smooth it's actually coming towards you. That is pretty damned impressive. And it's got a really nice turn of speed as well. Music as well. Even the signposts. I mean, seriously, this is very impressive. I noticed this game was actually programmed by Chris Butler, who did Space Harrier on the C64. He's actually a very, very competent programmer. He obviously had a knack. I've just noticed I was driving in low gear for most of that there. Yeah, and again, this is exactly what it should be. They've taken the core elements of the game. Excuse me, I keep burping there. I've just had some cheese biscuits to eat. Yeah, he's taking the core elements of what makes a game, what parts of the game should incorporate: speed, handling, and rather than trying to port an arcade perfect version, he's written a version within the confines of the 64 and he's produced a bloody good game. This is excellent. Being a C64 fanboy, I'm delighted to say that this is a really good version. Right, let's try the next track. I mean, if I was to criticise it, I would say it's slightly dull looking. You know, there's not an awful lot of colours, but that's just been a bit picky. Even the way the road moves up and down is really... bollocks. He's really managed to capture the sort of essence of the actual game. Yep, I'm well impressed with this one. And again, when you look at the road, there's not really, well, apart from the sideways sort of roadside obstacles, there's bits when there's actually nothing moving, but he's carefully still got the feeling of movement, even though it's not actually drawing any movement on it. Like this part, all it's really doing is moving up and down. But he's absolutely nailed it. Yay! I could actually quite enjoy playing that one. Let's just very quickly take a look at the next track since I've qualified. Yeah, it's reusing some of the graphics, but you know what, it's really captured the feeling of this game. Excellent, listen, that's enough guys, that's 5 minutes. This is the Commodore 64 version. Let's take a look at another one. Okay, unless you can't tell, this is the ZX Spectrum version of Power Drift. So let's go for Kempston joystick. Now I know Monkey Spaz played this one. I think he did an actual playthrough of this game. And I think he actually got taken a leak, apart from I'm sure there was absolutely no sound or something. It was quite a while ago he did it, so let's Let's take more and look at it and see how we're going. I do remember him mentioning about the sheer size of the car when you turn. Now actually, you know what, this is pretty impressive. It's they've really nailed the movement. There's a really good sort of impression of speed. Again, it's kind of monochrome, well at least the road is, but I love this bit. It really, you know, it looks like you're driving along a sort of cobbled kind of track. I would say if there's any criticism, it's probably what Monkey Spaz was criticising it for, is the sheer size of the car. When you're actually cornering, you're taking up almost most of the road, so it's going to make it pretty damned impossible to try and get past somebody. But this is really nice. It would not surprise me in the slightest. Now I don't even know who made this. It wouldn't surprise me. I think it was Activision. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if it was the same programmers that did Chase HQ, because it's got that kind of feel. It's impressive. It really is. It's smooth. You know, considering again we're talking about a machine here, guys, that is running with less memory than average email takes up. You know, we're talking about, well, it was 48k. I don't know how much memory is left after you've taken off basic and that and operating system sort of thing. So now that's what Monkey Spaz mentioned, that the music seems to kind of come and go. There was no music in the last track, just sound effects, yet this one's got music. The only criticism I would have of the excuse me, the Spectrum version, and that's a criticism that is you could level at a lot of Spectrum games, is because of the monochrome graphics. Sometimes the sprites can blend in a wee bit too much with the backgrounds, which makes it a wee bit difficult to. Oops, you know, I'm too busy looking to the side there. Let's this bit here, it's slightly hard to see what's going on. But again, that's just a sort of very minor criticism. What's happened there? Why has it hasn't reset, it's just gone right back? Is that game over? I don't know. Anyway, listen. Is it going to crash? Anyway, listen, that's plenty of time. That's the ZX Spectrum version, and it's quite impressive. Let's crack on. Okay, this is Power Drift on the, what's it called? It's the Magic Engine. That's the emulator. It's the PC Engine, or the TurboGrafx 16, as it's known out with Europe. Okay, now right away this looks nice. It's got a really nice presentation. This bodes well, but let's see. Yep, that looks. How do I actually move? Oh, here we go. I'm trying to actually see. How do I know what gear I'm in? Oh, I see it. I see it. I see it. Right, okay. Push up, push down, pull down to go into high gear. Graphically, it looks really nice. I mean, the actual sprites look excellent. I would say they almost look as better than arcades, although I might be talking nonsense. It's just, again, it's certainly better than the 16-bit computer ones, but it just seems to be that bit too jerky for my liking. It tries very hard. Your score 100,000 points. Game over. It's one of these games, if you saw it in the shop, you would pick it up in a second because it just looks like the dog's proverbials. Let's give it another go. Yeah. It's quite clear that this game was probably just a bit too much, a bit too big of an ask for pretty much all the machines. I mean, I don't know what kind of processor power it had, but yeah, it's just it's asking the machines to do too much. See, this looks, if you pause this game, you would think that looks amazing, and it does look amazing, but it just seems to go to pot the minute it starts moving, which is a shame. Yeah, it's a good attempt. Again, if they just reduced the graphics a bit, concentrated and making it smoother, it would have been a far better game. Yeah, anyway, I think that's enough of that one, guys. That is the PC Engine or TurboGrafx 60. Let's move on. Okay, this is the MSX version, as it says there, by New Frontier. Now, one thing I always notice with MSX, it always looks identical to the Spectrum. I'm guessing they must have the same processors and same graphics or something. Not too sure. Oh, bollocks, how do we get back to the main menu? Right, joystick and start game. Okay, let's go for the one in the far left. Be third or better, yeah. It sounds like it's a bloody aircraft. Alright, I just dropped down to... yeah, I think I'm in high gear now. Now, you know what? This isn't actually too bad. It feels very much like the Spectrum, which is no bad thing. I never ever thought that an MSX game could be a contender for one of the best versions of a game in one of these features. I'm not saying it is, but it's certainly better than a lot of them. Thing is, maybe they've you know, the MSX and Spectrum version, they've decided, well, there's no point in trying to compete with colour and graphics, so let's just go for this sort of monochrome look. And in doing so, they're kind of able, I mean, even look, you're going up a hill here, which is quite impressive, and in doing so they've been able to kind of maintain the speed and more importantly the sort of the smoothness of the arcade one, which I really like. Right, is that, you know what, I'm actually trying to, I'm struggling here, I can see the left hand side. Is that low gear? High gear. Yeah, that's definitely going quicker. So it looks like I was playing the Spectrum one in low gear all the time. But this is actually nice. It's quite nice. At least you can sort of see what you're supposed to be doing. Yep, it's very, very Spectrum-esque. I've noticed that in a few different games. Keep pushing it. I'm going to take third. Ah, bollocks. Anyway, that's enough of that one. Okay, that's not a bad version at all. That is the MSX one. And let's look at the final version.
Okay guys, this is Power Drift, and this is actually on the Sega Dreamcast. It was released through, what was it called? This kind of thing. Obviously, it's a collection. It's a collection of sort of Sega games, including Outrun, Afterburner, I think it is, Space Harrier. Now, I do believe that this is virtually a port of the Sega Saturn one. So anyway, let's batter on.
Welcome to our exciting circus.
As you can see there, it's actually all in Japanese.
Go for number 1.
But I'm sure you don't have to know Japanese to play a racing game. Now I notice it's got automatic gears, which is quite nice. And one thing I noticed about this version, it's very, very authentic to the arcade. It's got it rotates left and right. The actual screen rotates. You can see it tilts, I should say. No, it doesn't rotate. It tilts from left to right. Now I'm playing this on a 32-inch TV, and I've got to say it looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you can see there, it is blazingly fast. Graphics are really detailed. I'm guessing this is probably emulated. It looks awesome, absolutely awesome. Now I must admit, it was a bit of a, before I was actually all ready to finalise this feature, when I happened to notice that there is actually a version for the Dreamcast, which I was able to acquire. I mean, trying to get a hold of, well, you just can't buy games for the Dreamcast nowadays. You may be lucky enough to get them some on eBay, but Japanese games like this are just 10 a penny. They're like hen's teeth. They're just impossible to get. This looks fantastic. It really. You know, you've really got the scale of the graphics, the big stone pillars. You know, you can see there. It's not easy though, I'll give it that much. It's not an easy game anyway. I remember playing this in arcades, and it's such a fast game. Oops, that car looked like it was driving on top of these cliffs. But this is fantastic. bloody hard.
Welcome to our exciting circuit.
Okay, let's go for the C course.
Do your best and good luck. Go for number 1. 3, 2, 1, go!
Ah, I see how this... Ah, that's quite good actually. I've just realised how the gears work. The reason I'm taking off so slow is what you do is it automatically defaults to the high gear, but when you press the button in it drops to low gear, but you've got to keep it pressed in. So as long as you've got the button pressed in, you're in low gear. Then when you take your finger off the button it goes up to high gear. That's actually quite a clever way of doing it. Never seen that before. You know, I'm actually getting a bit woozy just playing this game. You really feel like you're going up and down a gigantic sort of roller coaster ride, and that's the feeling that you got from the original. This is a fantastic version, it really is. So go for low gear and then let the button go. Yeah, that's a really good way of playing it. Yeah, I remember this game has got quite garish kind of colours, you know, lots of reds and pinks and what have you. But you can see there it's all really smooth. Things just move exactly as you should. I mean, if I didn't know better, I would think this was the arcade I was playing, especially on the big screen that I'm using. It's just blazingly fast. You know, guys, I'm going to have another shot. Let's see what the next track is.
3, 2, 1, go!
Ah, bollocks.
Hurry up, hurry up!
One thing you realise with this game, its tracks are really short. Really short. I mean, this is a perfect example of an arcade game. Absolutely glorious graphics, mind-blowing visuals that just make you want to put that pound coin into the machine. And then it just rips your balls off. And you put another pound in and it does the same. Like that.
Hurry up, hurry up! Final lap! We're counting on you!
Ah well, how are we doing for time? Yeah, anyway, listen, that's enough of this one. That's the Sega Dreamcast version. Okay, that is it. That is it. Turn that down a wee bit so I can hear myself speak. Or you can hear me speak, I should say. So then, we've looked at a few... excuse me, we've looked at a few different versions of this. What have we had? The 16-bit versions, Amiga and ST, very jerky. Static graphics, if you were to take a snapshot of the graphics of the game in action, you'd say that looks really good. But the minute it starts moving, things go a bit Pete Tong. Now, the Amiga was the first one I actually played at the 16-bit versions, and I remember thinking it was truly awful. The Atari ST one seemed to play a wee bit better. Not quite sure whether it's just my memory playing tricks, or, I mean, they both looked identical, but the ST one seemed to play slightly better. But saying that, it was still, I would say it was pretty unplayable. You know, astonishing graphics, but everything just moved at, I don't know, really poor frame rate. So yeah, 16-bit versions, not good. The C64 one fantastic, absolutely fantastic. It's the perfect example of, I mean, the C64 is not renowned for sort of racing games. Well, saying that, I mean, it's got some cracking racing games, but arcade racing games, things like Outrun, Chase HQ are bloody abysmal. But what the guys have programmed Power Drift is, they looked at the game, they tried to establish what made the game fun, then they've tried to put that into the confines of the C64 hardware. They've not tried to emulate, you know, fancy graphics, detailed roads. They've built it around the C64 hardware, and in my opinion they've come up with a fantastic version, way better than the 16-bit versions. It's really fast. Yeah, there's not a lot of colour. It's typical kind of different versions, different colours of brown, which the C64 seems to be quite famous for. But it's an excellent version. It's super fast. It gives a good impression of speed. It's even got the wee kind of animations when you pass somebody, as the guy gives them the finger saying get it right up you. So yeah, like the C64 one. Amstrad, again, that's a great version. Really impressed with that. It's super colourful. It's a bit slow, but it's mega playable. The Spectrum version, it's as I would expect from the Spectrum. It's obviously monochrome, quite slow, but again it gives quite a good impression of speed. It's quite smooth, although it's quite slow. The only thing that I didn't like about the Specky version was the car is awfully big. When you turn round, when you actually corner, your car seems bloody massive. It seems to take up most of the room on the road. So yeah, that's the only downside to that one. And the MSX version, now I don't know what's going on with the MSX. Any version of the MSX that I've played seems almost identical to the Spectrum. Did they have the same processor, same colour chips? I'm not quite sure. I'm not technical in the slightest. But yeah, the MSX one, everything I've said about the Spectrum one, I'm going to say about the MSX one. But quite nice, because the MSX has had a lot of shite. Some of the Arcade Perfect My Arse features of the games in MSX have been dire. But again, that's not a bad version. PC Engine. If you went into Virgin Megastore in 1991 and you saw that, you picked up the box, you'd go, bloody hell, look at that, I'm going to buy that. And you would have handed over your 50 quid, whatever the hell it cost back then, and taken it home, and then you'd have been bloody gutted when you actually started it. It looks apart, it looks jaw-droppingly good, but again, it's similar to the 16-bit versions. It just seemed to, it was far too jerky. Looks, you know, graphically wise, it looks lovely. The minute it starts playing, it's just a dog's dinner. So I think that's it. I think I've covered every single version. 16-bit, 8-bit computers. It was one of these games that was never released that I'm aware of on like the Mega Drive, Master System, NES. Not quite sure why that happened, because I mean Outrun came out in most of these games. Maybe they just thought it's too much of a kind of a task to try and port it, don't know. So yeah, there's obviously fewer versions of this game. So then, my top 3. In third place, I'm going to go for, it's going to be third equal, I'm going to go for the Spectrum and MSX because they looked almost identical. I'm not going to go into details. I've already explained why I liked them and what I didn't like about them. Quite a competent conversion, a few bits and pieces that I wasn't too keen on, but they both played quite smoothly. Obviously a lack of colour. The cars looked a wee bit too big, but all in all, quite a decent port of Power Drift, you know, all things considered. I mean, you look at this thing that's playing at the moment, you can just see what kind of graphics it's throwing about, and to try and put that on a home computer was damned impressive. So yeah, third place to MSX and Spectrum. Second place in silver position, I'm going to go, just noticed I've actually put up a wee bit like that. Yeah, I'm going to go for, no, I'm talking shite, I'll leave it there where it was. I'm going to go for the Amstrad one. Really nice graphics, detailed, bright colours, excellent. Wee bit slow, but really top conversion. In first place, it's going to be a tie. The obvious one is I'm going to go for this version that we're looking at just now, the Sega Dreamcast. This is the dog's proverbials. Absolutely, I'm sitting here talking, looking at the screen. It's absolutely mind blowing. Hang on a second, I've panned in a bit too quick, too far. There we go, that's better. Yeah, this is absolutely awesome looking. I really suggest you try and hunt this game down. If you can't buy it, then you can probably acquire it from the usual sources like I had to do. Absolutely stunning conversion. It's without a shadow of doubt the best home conversion you're ever going to get to play outside of MAME. I mean, obviously if you've got access to MAME, then it's great. But the thing I like about this one is you can play it on your big TV, and it's obviously been tweaked to work really well. Work well with the controller, and it's also got the tilt and aspect of the arcade one as well, which I don't think it does in MAME. I might be talking shite. No, I think that's probably trying to emulate the cab sort of thing. So yeah, that's definitely top version. But I'm going to give a joint first place equal to the C64 one. Delighted to see that, because the Commodore was my machine, and so far it's not done too well in any of these arcade perfect features. But I definitely think that is the best home sort of computer version. It says it doesn't look as bright as like some of the versions, like the Amstrad version, but it's really fast. It's got the speed of the arcade one, and it really captures the feel with the undulating roads and that kind of stuff. So yep, top spot to C64. Give that an equal with the Dreamcast. I mean, this version just blows the rest of them out of the water sort of thing. So yeah, that's it guys. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I always enjoy making these features. It's quite interesting getting to play all these different versions. Yep, if you like watching this guys, please like it. That would be really appreciate that. Please leave comments, any other kind of games that you want me to feature in this Arcade Perfect series, please let me know. As usual guys, if you enjoy watching my videos, please consider subscribing. I'm always grateful for any subscribers, because if nothing else, it gives me an enormous sense of satisfaction knowing that people enjoy watching them, and it's also having more people to kind of post comments and just generally interact with as well. So please consider subscribing. You can follow me on Twitter under Mamemeister as well. So I think that just about wraps it up guys. So I hope you enjoyed watching it, and as usual, thanks for watching.